I'm going to just focus on the issue of autonomous weapon systems, in particular the issue of accountability in the context of individual criminal responsibility and how the term meaningful human control should be defined as far as that mode of responsibility is concerned. I would start, however, by mentioning that the debate on autonomous weapon system made many scholars, organizations, states to express different views on how we should respond to this kind of technology. We have other states, other organizations, other scholars suggesting that probably we should have a preemptive ban. They should be banned before even they come into existence. This is a very important point to make at this point, to say that autonomous weapon systems, at present, they don't exist, but in the near future, we might actually have those kind of weapons. There are other organizations who will say, no, maybe it's too early for us to have a preemptive ban. Why not wait and see if roboticists, other individuals who are involved in the development of this kind of technology, can come up with a weapon which is actually compliant with international humanitarian law and other branches of international law. However, what I'm going to focus today on is what was suggested by NGO Article 36, so named because the NGO focuses on the issue of Article 36 of Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Conventions on the review of new weapons. NGO Article 36 suggested that there is a need to maintain what they call meaningful human control of weapons. Now, the term meaningful human control of weapons, this is an emerging notion which is new in international law. There is no agreed definition of it. Individuals or scholars, so to say, organizations, have already started to give some sort of definitions of how they think this term should be defined as far as autonomous weapon systems is concerned. It is in this regard that I have concerns, and I'm going to share with you some thoughts on how I think the term should be defined. So, my argument, which I've made in an article published by NYU, Journal of International Law, is to say that maybe in trying to define meaningful human control in autonomous weapon systems, the first step should be why are we in need of this term meaningful human control? What is the purpose of this term meaningful human control? What is it which the international community is trying to salvage? That is the first question. The second question which I've asked is, who should exercise this meaningful human control? The reason why I'm asking this second question in particular is because there are various individuals who are involved in the production or development of autonomous weapon systems. There are manufacturers, there are designers, there are programmers, there are roboticists. All of them, they play a part in coming up with this system, which others refer to as killer robots, by the way. The third question being that, in case we know who should actually exercise that meaningful human control we are talking about, over what aspects of autonomous weapon system should that meaningful human control be exercised over? Now, I'm going to address these questions in turn, but I'm particularly going to focus on the aspect of who should exercise meaningful human control over autonomous weapon systems in the interest of time. Now, the reason why I'm considering the question who should exercise meaningful human control over autonomous weapon systems is because sometime in 2013, during the United Nations Disarmament Committee expert meeting on autonomous weapon system, the US delegation, supported by other states, actually made this point. They said, the definition which is being proposed by non-governmental organizations and other organizations is failing to take into account the various activities or the various contributions of various actors in the development of autonomous weapon systems. In other words, they were kind of suggesting a cumulative definition of meaningful human control. What am I trying to say? They are saying that if a manufacturer or if a designer is going to put an effort, or the input of a designer, the input of a programmer, if we add all that, we may end up coming up with meaningful human control. I'm in disagreement. And I'll state my reason why I disagree with such an approach. First, when I ask the question of what is the purpose of this meaningful human control, this has been suggested because the worry amongst many organizations and many scholars who are involved as far as the development of autonomous weapon systems is concerned is that if autonomous weapon systems or killer robots end up committing crimes, who is going to be responsible for such actions? So for me, the issue of accountability gap or the issue of accountability is key in as far as the definition of meaningful human control is concerned. So if the definition which we are about to come up with on meaningful human control, it should be that kind of control which will make you be able to come up with a solution to the challenges which autonomous weapon systems are posing. Now, I then looked at the other suggestions which are people which United States were giving to say that we have to add up everything and come up with the definition of meaningful human control. I'm afraid the accountability gap which we are facing as far as autonomous weapon systems are concerned may not be cured by such an approach. Now, under international criminal responsibility, individual criminal responsibility, under international criminal law, for an individual to be found criminally liable for a war crime, for example, they need, for example, you need to be able to establish mens rea, the intention of the person who was using the weapon. The moment you are trying to involve, this is the argument which I've been trying to make to say, the moment you're trying to say, okay, the responsibility of this particular individual who is using this particular weapon is going to be made or is going to be shared with other individuals or other actors participating in the development of autonomous weapon systems, you may not be able to come up with a legal standard. So if meaningful human control as an emerging notion is going to be established as a legal standard upon which responsibilities of actors is to be established, then my suggestion or my argument is that the meaningful human control as a term or the definition should zero in at each and every particular actor, that we establish different standards as far as each actor is concerned. In other words, this is what I'm suggesting. For a manufacturer or for a program of a roboticist to be said to be exercising meaningful human control over autonomous weapon systems, what should they do? For a fighter or the person who finally used this autonomous weapon system to be said to be in meaningful human control of this system, what kind of actions should this individual be taking? I'll focus on the last question which I've just posed, because for me, what I think is more important is the final weapon user, because it is the individual actually who can commit crime, who can actually be able to protect civilians or those who are not participating in hostilities. When defining what meaningful human control would mean as far as the combatant is concerned, my first port of call was to say, since this term is not defined in international law, let me try to find somewhere else within the branch of within international law where we can be able to borrow something in order to build up what meaningful human control may mean. I've seen that in various branches of international law. The concept of control is a basis for establishing responsibility. And if you look, for example, under state responsibility, there have been the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, have come up with various tests of control in order to establish responsibility, issues of overall control, issues of effective control, which I'm not going to go into detail with. But there are certain things which I just saw from those in that jurisprudence of effective control, overall control, etc. The dependence, for example, of a non-state actor, the level of dependence of non-state actor, and the level of control which the state is exercising over a non-state actor will actually determine whether a state is responsible. In the same way, my argument is to say it is the level of control that a particular combatant is exercising over an autonomous weapon system that will determine whether that individual can be said to be in meaningful human control, to be in meaningful control of that particular system. So the argument there is to say that unless, this is my position, unless the autonomous weapon system is depending on the input of a combatant to the extent that it's not able to act unless the combatant put a certain input as far as execution of critical functions is concerned, then he cannot be said to be in meaningful control of that system. In other words, or conversely, so to say, the autonomous weapon system should only be able to function when a human is directly in loop or is in the loop, being able to supervise that particular machine or that particular system. Otherwise, one will not be able to say that there is meaningful control. Now, I want to shortly address some of the suggestions which have been given under command responsibility by some scholars who have said, like, look, you guys who are suggesting that there will be an accountability gap because we have no situation whatsoever. We've never had a system which can be able, that these are autonomous weapon systems, which can be able to make, once activated, to make decisions as to who to kill, who to target without human supervision. We never had such a situation. They were saying, but wait a minute. Under command responsibility, if we are able to prosecute a commander for the actions of their subordinates, probably we can use the same approach to simply say the person who is activating or who is sending that particular weapon system into the field is the commander. By the same under command responsibility mode, we can be able to use the same to establish the responsibility of this individual fielding the autonomous weapon system. Again, I disagree with that suggestion. First of all, on the premise to say that when the command responsibility mode under the National Criminal Law was introduced and developed, it was developed with a human-to-human relationship in mind. It's a human commander relationship with a human soldier kind of relationship, not a human commander with a machine. The reasons are, it follows the logic. There is a logic for that. For example, for you to be able to establish command responsibility, there should be a superior subordinate relationship between the two, and that the commander knew or ought to have known that his subordinate was committing crimes, and that upon knowing that they didn't act, they didn't punish that particular individual. Of course, you can't punish a machine. So the fact that that relationship is already different, that's where my emphasis to say we cannot invoke the issue of command responsibility. Rather, we should stick to the issue of individual criminal responsibility of people who use autonomous weapon systems, and for them to be able to be individually criminally liable for using autonomous weapon system. They should be in control of that system to the extent that all the ensuing acts which are committed by that autonomous weapon system becomes their own actions, which is the issue of intention. Because if autonomous weapon systems we are saying that they can be able to make their own decisions once they are activated, it means the person who send that autonomous weapon system in the field may end up saying, those were not my actions, but rather they were those of the machines. So in that particular regard, my emphasis is to say, which I will end in the interest of time, to say that as far as autonomous weapon system is concerned, and as far as the current intention which scholars and international organizations are having to try and define what autonomous weapon system means, the question which they should always keep in mind is, what is that purpose of that meaningful human control? And I'm saying one of the fundamental purposes is to say we want to close the accountability or the potential accountability gap which is created by these machines. And if we are to be able to do that, which means it's an issue of responsibility, it is only where autonomous weapon system may not be able to act until, especially as far as execution of critical functions is concerned, unless when a human being is able to put an input or to approve the selection of the targets. On that, I think I would want to end my presentation. And